Hi guys, this is Travis, and today I'm going to be bringing you a deck profile for my Twilight deck for the October 2014 format. This deck has gone through changes since I started working on it. It took a while to get all the ratios right, but I think I have the formula down now, and obviously I would love feedback on it. You guys test it out, tell me what it probably needs or does not need, or whatever combos you can think of that might go well. Alright, so I'll start with the boss monsters. I play 2 JD. I know, 3 is a good number for JD, but 2 is better in this deck because there are ways to access it from the grave, and it's not the main focus. You don't just want to nuke the field and win, even though you can, and you probably will. 1 BLS, 2 Sork, and 1 Gores. So I kind of wanted to play 2 Gores, but I ended up playing 1 Gores, just for deck space reasons. The BLS and Sorcerers are sort of obvious what they're going to do. You have your Chaos cards in the grave, you get a free boss monster. Self-explanatory. Gores get you out of a lot of tough situations. There are cases in which this deck does brick, or you get really bad hands, and you need the Gores to stall, or you need the Gores to get out of a turn so you don't get OTK'd. Especially now with the way the meta's changing, we have Cliffworks. Yeah, not sure what to make of those as far as this deck's matchup. I haven't tested against any Cliffworks, but Gores can get you out of a tough situation as far as that. And obviously the Chaos cards are strong too. So on to the Lightsworn portion of the deck. Obviously you're not as concerned about names because you're only playing 2 JD, but I still try to play enough Lightsworns to deal with that aspect. So playing 2 Raiden. It's a really good card early game. I think out of all the Lightsworns, this is the one you want to see early game if you want to see them at all. 2 Lila. 2 Lila is your Spell and Trap Hate. Mills 3. It's a pretty strong card. 3 Lumina. Lumina is much better than Raiden mid to late game, obviously. You can get a boss monster. 1 card boss monster is really nice. And this deck has a lot of cards that you love to toss to the graveyard as well, so Lumina is just like a double engine in that sense. So I say if you have charge early, this is better early game to dig into your deck, and this is better mid-late game so you can set up your boss monsters. Okay, as far as the one-ofs, which I do play several. 1 Wolf, 1 Aaron, 1 Jane, 1 Minerva, for the off chance you get to use Minerva's search effect, and 1 Garroth. They're all pretty decent on their own. Good standalone cards, but none of them are outstanding enough to play multiples of. More names for JD, more cards that mill and get the ball rolling. Minerva's obviously a good card to mill. Wolf's a great card to mill. No Felice in this deck. I honestly just don't like the design of Felice. Felice is a card that I find to be tedious to have to play. And I like Wolf a lot better because it's just this instant thing. If you get it, great. If you don't, use Lumina on it. No big deal. You can send it to the graveyard. I just find Felice tedious, and I'm iffy on it. But anyway, that's the Lightsworn portion. I think these ratios are correct for this deck. I honestly think that that's probably the best number for Lightsworn. But I could be wrong. So for the dark portion of the deck, I play 2 Shadal Dragon. This is sort of a new age Twilight deck, I guess, considering what the meta is like now and what cards people are playing. The Shadal Dragon has lots of purposes in the deck. It's a 1900 beater that can just attack into stuff. If it gets flipped, you get its Compulse effect, which is nice. So you can set this first turn and then bait out an attack by a Dante or whatever, and then you can bounce something back, which is really good. And then if it gets milled, which is its 3rd application, or I guess its primary application, because you're playing Lightsworn, if it gets milled, you get an MST effect. So, and it's dark, so 2 Shadal Dragon. Good card. And then for the little rank 3 engine, I play triple Curry Bandit, because Curry Bandit just completely saves your life in the early game. Excavate 5 in any deck that has Chaos properties and bricks is really good. And then you get to keep whatever spell or trap you get. Alright, 2 Tour Guide and 2 Skarm. So before you leave the video and get mad because I'm not playing 3 Tour Guide, let me say that the Burning Abyss rank 3 engine that is so popular right now is not the focus of this deck. Alright? The tour guide from the underworld is great at 3 because you can tour guide itself, you can tour guide whatever you want. But in this deck, the main fiend that you want access to is this. If you draw this in the early game and you use this effect, that's great. That's probably going to mean that your engine's already rolling. What are you going to do about these two? They're still going to be in the deck, and you don't want to resolve their effects later. You just don't. It's not good. It doesn't help you out. As much as it's nice to get Excavate 5 in the mid to late game, you're going to be wide open and you're just going to lose. So Tour Guide, if you summon it and you want to hold it mid to late game, Tour Guide lets you special summon one of these useless Curry Bandits and go into a rank 3. Another application. Tour Guide, go into Scarm, detach the material from the XZ monster, search out one of the Curry Bandits, or search out the other Tour Guide, or search out, well, you can't search this, but you can search one of the other two. Scarm is the choice I picked because it's a searcher. It searches the tour guide, and if you happen to get this on your first turn and not one of these, you can go ahead and summon it. You can special summon it if there's nothing on the field, and then you can normal summon. This goes away, and you get to search out your Curry Bandit, and then go off on turn 2. I think Curry Bandit's effect is fine to resolve turn 1 to maybe 3. After that, it's going to be useless fodder, and that's why you want to play tour guide. But the Scarm's basically, it sets up a little bit of an engine where you can go into your rank 3, you can search out something that you don't want to use again, or you can go for tour guide, which is just extends the play, I guess. So I find that 2 tour guide and 2 Scarm is perfectly fine to play. If I were playing Dante in the extra deck, I would actually probably bump tour guide up to 3. But because I'm not playing Dante, I'm not really concerned about it. I thought about Plague Spreader too, so maybe Plague Spreader would be an option. I play 2 Wyver Burster and 2 Collapse Serpent. They're just good floaters. They bounce off of each other. They set up rank 4s and level 8 synchros. They let you banish, free summons, free cards. I don't see anything negative about them at all. I think 2 of each is fine. Just helps. Okay, for spells and traps, these are the cards that you're going to be bumping into with your Curry Bandits. Usually with big decks like this, I like to play spells and traps that advance the game state for me. They're not really that defensive. They actually just complement the engine. So 3 solo recharge, just draw power. 1 allure. Allure has 2 purposes in the deck also. It's sort of like a theory I have. I have this theory that if you're playing a card in a deck, it should have at least 2 functions in the deck. You should be able to read its effect and state with absolute certainty that you can get at least 2 uses out of it at any given time. Obviously, decks built with 40 cards and each one of those 40 cards do this is kind of impossible. There are a lot of cards that only do one thing. For example, the Garroth. It's not great for battle. 1850 is fine, but it's not going to win you the game with the condition being damage. Basically, what you want to get out of this is the extra milling, the effect it has, because it can send other things from your deck to the grave and their effects can go off. And also it's a light, it's a name for JD, so it has different functions, but it's got one primary function. Cards like that are unavoidable, you have to play them, but I think a perfect deck would be one in which every card has at least 2 functions. So Lure of Darkness is a draw 2. You obviously don't want to always banish your Darkened hand, but what this also does is it deals with your extra Curry Bandits. In the mid to late game, banishing a Curry Bandit is not a big deal, and you get to draw 2. So it actually serves that extra function, which I think is a little bit specific, but it's still really helpful. I also play 1 charge of the Light Brigade and 1 soul charge, and that's all of the spells. Charge of the Light Brigade serves 2 functions, obviously. You mill 3, you obviously can hit a Shadal, which would be good. You can hit Minerva, which would be good. And then you get to search out whatever you're looking for. I guess Ride in early game and Lumina late game. If you're trying to get over Vanities, though, you could obviously go for Lila and then get over the Vanities. And Soul Charge, if you hit this with Curry Bandit, it's probably GG because you've probably already milled enough stuff to establish a field that your opponent can't get over. So those are the spells. And for the traps, again, I'm playing cards that have multiple functions. 3 Wing Wind Blast and 1 Beckoning. The Wing Wind Blast is probably my favorite card in the deck. It's probably the best trap card right now, honestly. This card, it bounces something back, which is obviously powerful. But in this deck, you have so many options that you can just ditch to the graveyard. Scarm is a great card for Wing Wind Blast because you get to search out your Curry Bandit or Tour Guide. Your unused Curry Bandits are great for Wing Wind Blast. Your Shaddoll Dragons are great for Wing Wind Blast. Anything that you can ditch to the grave and gain something from it is how the meta works right now. So basically just making big plays and not wasting resources. If a resource like Wing Wind Blast requires you to discard something that's going to give you something, basically. And the Beckoning is simply for JD. Because I'm playing 2 JD, it's going to be difficult to always have access to one. So by setting the Beckoning, your opponent's going to think it's a Wing Wind Blast, and then they're going to target it, and then you can chain it, and then you can get your JD, which is really nice. Unless they target it before you can activate it in the end phase or whatever. Alright, for the extra deck, I felt obligated to play at least 3 rank 3s because there is a rank 3 engine. I did not play Dante, or I would have bumped up Tour Guide. I played 1 Anganier for defense, 1 Alucard for offense, and 1 Giga Brilliant because it has a decent effect and it's a light. So 2 lights, 1 dark. Just basically advances the Twilight theme, I guess. For rank 4s, a little more plentiful. Evolvable Chain, one of the best tools the deck has to get the engine going. You can put Curry Bandit on top of the deck, you can put BLS on top of the deck, or you can use the second effect and get a Dragon MST effect or whatever. And then I play Staples, Castell, Shark, Corn. This one for its dark attribute, which helps out a lot. Then I play 1 Downard because you play 3 rank 3s, and after you've utilized them, then you can go into Downard, which is pretty good. So that does it for the rank 4 cards. For the Synchro monsters, or actually I have 1 more XC, but Sacred Ancient Wyvern sets up OTKs, light, relatively easy to go into also. Black Rose when you need a reset. Also, Black Rose has a second function here. If you nuke your own field and you get to use some of those graveyard effects, it makes Black Rose's nuking even better. Michael, because it's a 1 card. It's free when you have Lumina and you have Ride in the Grave. You can send one of those cards that I showed that have effects that go off when they hit the grave, and you can special summon him. And then even if he goes away, you get to gain life points for the light sworns you have. You can recycle them. So those are level 7s. For level 8s, I play Stardust Spark because it's light and it's better than Stardust in my opinion. Thought Ruler because it's dark and it's just an absolute beast. I love Thought Ruler as a card. Very well designed. It lets you gain life points just like Michael, and lets you negate stuff which could cripple your deck. And 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend for offense. Also a dark. So you shouldn't have too much trouble making these. I thought about playing Plague Spreader because Plague Spreader plus Chaos Sork could make one of those also, but it just didn't feel like it had too much synergy with the cards I was playing, and I didn't really have space for it too. So also 1 Felgrand. Felgrand is the last card. It's also a light. It is for a game state in which you have this on the field, 2 JDs, and you don't need the nuke, or if you have 1 JD and you can't do anything with it, you could summon it, nuke the field, special summon BLS, and then go into Felgrand to set up your next turn. So when your opponent's turn comes around, you automatically have some protection installed prematurely, I guess. So that does come up every once in a while. Anyway, that's my entire deck profile for my Twilight deck for this format. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, favorite, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on it. Tell me what you think about the deck, what combos you would play, what card choices you would make differently, what you find interesting about it, whatever you would like to say. And yeah, I hope I can play test with this against Quillforts and see how the matchup is. But any deck where you can summon a bunch of big monsters at once is pretty awesome. So, all right, this has been my Twilight deck for October 2014, and I'm signing out.